Thank you for coming, and thank you for waiting
Detroit
through everything else. We thought it was only appropriate, not only because you're a fantastic musician, but you have a love for Detroit that permeates our entire city. I mean, you're not from here, but you came here a few years back and you fell in love with the place, made a documentary that if you haven't seen it yet, it's riveting. I learned things about Detroit that I didn't know, and the love that you show in that film for our city and for people who are helping to make it better is just remarkable.
What they really are, I mean, yeah, it's the people that make a city great. But a lot of people don't understand what Detroit has going on, and look where we are.
Yeah. It's a pretty cool state, isn't it? Yeah. Pretty nice place to be.
If you travel the world and tour the world 10 times over, you will not play in a finer venue.
Yeah. Now, you said something in that video clip that was intriguing to me. You said, you started singing basically when you were a teenager, and you had your first hit when you were 34.
I'm an 18-year overnight success.
Yeah. What kept you...
It wasn't funny back then.
Yeah. What kept you going? And how close did you come, if there was any point where you said, okay, it's just not going to happen?
I guess the good news about that for me was I didn't have a plan B. I had no plan B. Yeah. That probably would have been a better title for my book, actually. I just only wanted to make music, since I was maybe 12 or 13. I started writing on a guitar. I learned 3 or 4 chords and then started writing. And at 16, someone from New York, from CBS Records, came up and said, "You got what it takes." I didn't know he was going to be off by 18 years, but and there was a lot of fun, the ride, the climb. But when you have kids, when you have a family, it's really, really tough when you put out the second album for a company and they say, "Well, it's been nice working with you and good luck in the industry." And I kept hearing that over and over again.
Tony Bennett told me a story once that I thought was very indicative of the conflict between commerce and art. And it was about Duke Ellington, and I guess he was with Duke Ellington when he got a phone call from the record company, Columbia, I think it was, and they said that they were dropping him. And he said, "Why?" And they said, "Well, you don't sell enough records." And Duke Ellington said to this executive, "I think you're mistaken. My job is to make the records. Your job is to sell the records." And I always thought that kind of summed it up. And it's like the business part wants you to make them and you to sell them, and then they'll take their piece of the money off of it. But if you're not doing it, then they don't want you. Can you just talk about that? Is there a natural conflict between the business side of music and the music side of music?
I mean, there can be a conflict, and that's a very funny, I've never heard that in all my years of touring and making records. But there's also the flip side of that, which is what happened for me was when I finally started having success, I wanted to know who was affecting that success and who at the record label was going to become a champion for me, or who already was. What do they do every day while I'm in the studio working or writing? What are they doing with this record, this album, which used to have 4 or 5 hits? You could have 4 or 5 hit singles on it. And it's selling around the entire world in places we've never been to. I wanted to know what they were doing. And then I kind of made them, I challenged them. So I would go and do promotion like crazy as long as they committed further to each project. And so you get them into a position where you're actually embarrassing them into working harder on the next body of work that you deliver. Because I didn't want to go back to eviction notices and rent checks bouncing.
Those weren't fun. Huh?
That was.
And now you've reached the point where you heard the applause for the Captain Jack Sparrow video, which is
the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, but you have to reach a certain iconic stage in order for people to be in on that joke. You can't be a semi-known singer and have it be funny that you're singing about Captain. You've got to be a major star singing about Captain Jack Sparrow, which I guess the Saturday Night Live guys came to you and asked.
That's what they do, though. I mean, I had seen Justin Timberlake's videos of something. Natalie Portman was phenomenal. And I really wanted to do something with them. And they called us, and called my manager. And we sat down with him and I said, I really want to work with you, but I read the script and it's really nasty. It's like halfway through, it was, what we made is like the gentle version of what these guys were pitching me. And Andy Samberg's nodding his head going, yeah, I thought you might think that. We'll tweak it. I said, well, if you can just work on it a little bit. It's really funny. I'd love to do it, but you got to remove some of the language in the middle of it. It was really dark stuff. And they said, okay. And about 2 weeks later, I got an email. It was Andy. Okay, here's the new version. I read it. It was worse. It was nasty.
But it was different.
It was different. Yeah, he changed it. I was going to lose at least the first 20 rows of my audience every night. And then finally, about 7 months later, they sent me a version, and I smiled and said I could do this. And I was in Atlanta, and I cut it, and they were producing it via Skype. So they were there on every note. And then we had 2 hilarious days of filming in New York, which was so funny.
I think anytime you get to dress as a pirate, the hilarious comes to mind.
Dressing as a pirate, well, you know, it could be scary too.
Yeah. Well, you are a gift to us, both musically and here in Detroit, as an almost de facto ambassador. I was lucky enough to MC the night that Michael brought his film here, and I just couldn't believe. And I mean, you got like the trifecta. You had Chris Illich, you had Dave Gilbert. I don't think you realize like getting all these people on the same stage at the same time on the same night is not easy. And you did it because you believed in Detroit so much. And I know you know about our charity, Say Detroit, and how we work with Detroiters of every age, and not a handout, but a hand up. And there's an awful lot of really good people in this city. And when someone comes from the outside and says, I recognize that, especially since we've gotten kind of used to over the years, people coming from the outside with cameras like on Devil's Night, and whenever we're at our worst. And you know, people shouldn't come and try to tell a city story from the bottom up. That's not the way you should tell the city story. You know, you should tell it from the top up. And you did.
With this film, you're going to see that at the top up. You're going to see that we have loved filming in Detroit. We love the people we've met here and become close friends with, and we love the story. The comeback story is awesome, and we've covered all the great, not all, because there's so much more since we started filming, but in 3 years we have a great story, a very, very positive.
Well, you're in a place, I know you've done a lot of Motown songs, you're in a place where Motown acts literally performed on the same exact stage that you are. We've asked Michael to sort of sing give us a song and then one that we can all do with everybody who's still left in the back, and all of you. While the band is getting set up for that, if they want to, and while you want to get in place, I want to thank ahead of time so that we don't do one of those things where you end the song and then it's like, wait, I just want to say a few thank yous. We'll let you go right after that. But I do want to thank everybody who helped us here at the Fox Theater, the Illich family in particular, who lets us use this theater for these events, basically absorbing almost all of the costs, and it takes a lot to put on a show like that. Ryfield in particular, who's been working with us here, all the great staff, all the stagehands, and Megan and all the people in the back, and Rosie, my friend and partner, who basically has been living this thing. It's just like 10 more minutes. I'm going to collapse in 10 more minutes. But he really produced this entire show from scratch. I have the easy part, just sitting in the chair. So please thank him.